The plane went silent over the Atlantic. 287 passengers, no radio, no navigation, total darkness at 38,000 feet. Then a woman in business class stood up and said 5 words that changed everything: "I'm a Navy pilot." Her call sign was Shark, and she knew exactly what was hunting them. The bourbon costs $18 at 38,000 feet. Jordan Hayes orders it anyway, because people in seat 4A, business class, window, order $18 bourbon without thinking about the price. She's wearing rag and bone jeans that cost more than her first month's Navy salary, a silk blouse from Bergdorf's, and a leather jacket soft enough to sleep in. Her nails are manicured, her carry-on is Tumi, and her watch is a Tag Heuer that catches the light every time she turns a page of the hardcover thriller she bought at Hudson News. The Hunt for Red October meets The Bourne Identity, according to the cover copy. She's on page 47 when she finds the first technical error. The author has a Los Angeles-class submarine running silent at 42 knots. Impossible. The cavitation alone would light up every sonar array within 300 miles. Jordan smirks, sips her bourbon, and keeps reading. To the businessman in 4B, late 50s, wedding ring, laptop already open before takeoff. She's exactly what she appears to be. A young professional, probably finance or consulting, someone who crosses the Atlantic for meetings and thinks nothing of last-minute business class tickets. He'd tried conversation during boarding. First time to London? No. Business or pleasure? Business. What field? Defense consulting. 3 answers, each shorter than the last. He got the hint, and now they coexist in polite silence, him typing emails, her reading her airport thriller with the slight smirk of someone who knows better. The flight attendant, Catherine, early 50s, with the bearing of someone who's handled everything, stops by with the champagne cart. "Madam, champagne before dinner." Jordan accepts with a practiced smile, the kind that says I fly business class regularly, and yes, I'll take the free champagne, but no, I don't need to make a big deal about it. British Airways Flight 117, New York JFK to London Heathrow, a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, 287 passengers and crew, scheduled flight time 6 hours and 42 minutes, departure 21:35 Eastern, arrival 9:25 Greenwich Mean Time, routed along Track Charlie in the standard North Atlantic Corridor, cruising at 41,000 feet at Mach 0.85. Jordan knows all of this without checking the departure screen. 12 years of flying surveillance missions over every ocean on Earth hardwired certain calculations into her brain. She knows the aircraft is burning roughly 2,200 gallons an hour, that it's carrying about 33,500 gallons of fuel for the crossing, and that the exact point of no return is 1,847 nautical miles from JFK, the moment it becomes more efficient to continue to London than to turn back to New York. She knows all of this, and she hates that she knows it, because 6 months ago Jordan Hayes was Commander Jordan Shark Hayes, United States Navy, AP-8A Poseidon pilot with Maritime Patrol Squadron 5 out of NAS Jacksonville, 12 years hunting submarines across the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Arctic, anywhere American interests needed eyes on enemy movements beneath the surface. Her call sign came during her 3rd deployment, when they were hunting a Russian Akula-class attack submarine ghost tracking the USS Harry S. Truman Carrier Group. The sub was good, quiet, using the terrain of the mid-Atlantic ridge to mask its signature, and Jordan's squadron had spent 6 days chasing nothing but ghost returns and acoustic clutter. Jordan was in the right seat running the sensor suite, watching water temperature gradients, magnetic anomaly readings, and patterns in the biological returns. After 16 hours on station she suddenly called out, "Active sonar, bearing 187, range 12,000 yards, depth 340 meters. Her pilot looked at her like she'd lost her mind. There was nothing on the display. "Drop buoy pattern DELTA-7, she said. Trust me, they dropped the sonobuoys, and the active return lit up their displays like Christmas. A Russian Akula, exactly where Jordan had said it would be, depth and bearing perfect. Afterward, her squadron commander asked how she'd known. Jordan couldn't fully explain it. Something about the way a school of fish had scattered the temperature inversion layer at 300 meters, a gut instinct built from thousands of hours reading ocean data. I just knew where it was, she said. Her backseater, Lieutenant Marcus Chen, put it differently. Shark doesn't hunt submarines. She just knows where they are. The name stuck. For 12 years Jordan was Shark, the officer who found submarines everyone else missed, who could look at sensor data that read as pure noise to anyone else and see the ghost of a hull hiding in the clutter. Her squadron mates joked she was part fish, that she could smell a submarine through 50 feet of titanium hull, that the ocean simply told her its secrets. Then, 6 months ago, the ocean told her something the Navy didn't want to hear. It was supposed to be a routine patrol tracking Russian submarine movements through the Giuk Gap, the strategic choke point between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom. Jordan was mission commander, flying a standard Sonobui pattern off the Reykjanes Ridge, when at 14:27 Coordinated Universal Time her magnetic anomaly detector, old Vietnam-era technology, but still useful for final localization, registered something impossible, a massive return, moving at a depth and speed that shouldn't have been achievable. She called for active sonar, and the return chilled her. It was a submarine, that much was clear, but the acoustic profile matched nothing in the Office of Naval Intelligence database. Too quiet for Russian, the wrong configuration for Chinese, and moving at 35 knots at 800 meters, a speed and depth no conventional submarine could reach. She ran the signature analysis 3 times. Each time the computer returned the same answer. Unknown vessel, no match. She called it in immediately over an encrypted satellite link. We have an unidentified submarine contact, advanced capability, operating in NATO waters. Request guidance. The response came 47 minutes later. Classify all sensor data. Code word clearance only. Continue patrol. Do not re-engage contact. You will receive further orders. Jordan stayed on station another 6 hours. The submarine appeared twice more, always at the edge of detection range, always moving in patterns that suggested it was tracking NATO aircraft. When she landed at Naval Air Station Keflavik, 3 men in suits were waiting. Defense Intelligence Agency, judging by their credentials and their carefully neutral expressions. They debriefed her for 11 hours, every sensor reading, every decision, and then told her the truth as they saw it. Commander Hayes, you did not detect an unknown submarine. You experienced a sensor malfunction combined with acoustic propagation anomalies common in that region. We've reviewed your data. There was no submarine. Jordan stared at them. I've been flying these missions for 12 years. I know the difference between a sensor glitch and a submarine. Contact. That was a submarine. Advanced, foreign, and it was tracking us. Commander, you're exhausted, they told her. You've been deployed for 8 months. Sometimes stress and fatigue affect judgment. My judgment is fine, she said. My sensors are fine. That submarine is real. The lead agent, who never gave his name, leaned forward. You're a decorated officer with an exemplary record. Don't ruin that record by pushing this. Some things are above your pay grade. Some things require context you don't have. The best thing you can do for your career and your country is classify this data and move on. Jordan pushed anyway. She went to her squadron commander, her air wing commander, and even tried to reach Vice Admiral Rebecca Stanton, Director of Naval Intelligence, someone she had briefed personally more than once and who had always trusted her judgment. None of them would talk to her. The message was clear. Drop it, or face consequences. 3 weeks later she was quietly offered early retirement, 20 years of service credit despite only 12 years served, a full pension, a generous severance, and a job already lined up in defense consulting with a contractor called Kaleidoscope Strategic Solutions, paying triple her Navy salary. All she had to do was resign her commission and sign a non-disclosure agreement about the submarine contact. The officer who delivered the offer, Captain Sarah Vance of Naval Personnel Command, someone Jordan had never met before, laid it out plainly. Decline, and she'd spend the next 8 years processing paperwork in San Diego until she hit 20, accept, and at least she'd be paid well for the end of her flying career either way. Jordan asked one question. That submarine I detected, it's real, isn't it? Vance's expression didn't change. Commander, I have no information about that. I'm just here to discuss your career options. Jordan took the deal. She moved to Manhattan, took the consulting job, mostly PowerPoint presentations for defense contractors about maritime surveillance capabilities, bought expensive clothes, rented a nice apartment in Chelsea, and learned to order $18 bourbon on flights without flinching. For 6 months she has been Jordan Hayes, civilian, no call sign, no sonar, no hunting submarines. But she never forgot that contact, never stopped wondering what it was, who had built it, or why her own government wanted it buried badly enough to end her career. And she never stopped being Shark, even if no one around her knew what that call sign meant, or that the woman reading an airport thriller in seat 4A had once spent 12 years hunting things that hide in the dark beneath the waves. The businessman in 4B glances at her book. Any good? Jordan closes it with a slight smile. The author's never been on a submarine. He's got a Los Angeles class running at 42 knots, they can barely make 30. You know about submarines. I used to work in defense. Maritime systems. Interesting field. It had its moments. She returns to her book. He returns to his email. Neither notices when the cabin lights flicker, just once, barely perceptible, as British Airways Flight 117 passes through 38,000 feet, 784 nautical miles east of St. John's, Newfoundland, exactly halfway across the North Atlantic, halfway between continents, in the most vulnerable position an aircraft can occupy. Too far from land to turn back, too far from its destination to press on quickly, entirely dependent on its electronics, its engines, and the competence of two pilots flying through air so thin that a single mistake could kill everyone aboard. Jordan doesn't consciously notice the flicker, but 12 years of instinct registers it. Anyway, some part of her that never stopped scanning for threats. She turns the page and keeps reading. Below, 38,000 feet down, something moves through the black water, something that shouldn't exist, something that knows exactly where British Airways Flight 117 is flying. In 17 minutes, it is going to reach up from the depths and teach Jordan Hayes that you can resign your commission, but you can't resign your instincts, because Shark is about to remember what it means to hunt. At 22:43 Eastern the entertainment screens die, all 300 of them, across first class, business, premium economy, and economy, in the same instant. Jordan looks up from her book. Around her, passengers groan and complain about losing their movies. The man in 4B curses softly as his screen goes dark mid-film. Typical, someone behind her mutters. 7-hour flight and the entertainment dies an hour in. But Jordan isn't listening to the complaints. She's watching the cabin lights, which flickered again, almost imperceptibly, the instant the screens died. Most people didn't notice. Jordan did, because power systems on commercial aircraft are redundant. Backup upon backup. Individual screens can fail. Even whole sections can fail, but the entire in-flight entertainment network doesn't die all at once unless something fundamental has gone wrong with the electrical system. She closes her book and looks out the window. Nothing but darkness, black water under black sky, no cities, no ships, only the aircraft's own navigation strobes flashing red and white against the void. She checks her watch. 22:43. They've been airborne 68 minutes, which puts them roughly 800 nautical miles east of New York and still 2,200 miles from London, the most isolated point of the crossing, equidistant from any diversion airport, completely dependent on the aircraft's systems to navigate across empty ocean. Something tightens in Jordan's chest. Not panic, recognition. This is wrong. Catherine moves through the cabin with practiced efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a temporary issue with our entertainment system. Our technical crew is working on it. We apologize for the inconvenience. Technical crew, on a civilian aircraft, means the pilots themselves are troubleshooting from the cockpit, which means this is bigger than the entertainment system. Jordan unbuckles her seatbelt. Where are you going? The man in 4B asks. Bathroom. She stands and moves forward. Not toward the bathroom, toward the cockpit, passing through a first class already mostly asleep behind their masks. At the curtained galley between first class and the cockpit she pauses, listening. She can hear Catherine's voice, low and urgent, all of them, everything, and a younger voice answering, that's what they said, communication and navigation, they're flying on backup instruments. Jordan's blood goes cold. Communication and navigation failing together isn't a simple glitch, it's a catastrophic, simultaneous failure of multiple redundant systems. Before she can process it, Captain Williams comes over the intercom, calm and professional but with an edge Jordan recognizes from her own voice on missions gone wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Williams. We're experiencing some minor technical issues with our communication systems. Nothing to be concerned about. We're working to resolve this and will update you shortly. 12 years of military flying translate that instantly for Jordan. We have a serious problem and we don't want you to panic. Passengers start murmuring, asking questions, the modern traveler's nightmare, being unreachable over open ocean. Catherine moves through the cabin reassuring everyone that the captain is addressing the situation, but Jordan can see the tension around her eyes, the professional smile that doesn't quite reach it. Catherine has been briefed. This isn't minor. Standing in the galley, Jordan works through it. Total entertainment failure followed by communications failure isn't coincidence, it's cascading electrical failure, something disabling multiple independent systems at once. She's seen a pattern like it exactly once before, during an exercise testing electronic warfare systems. A directed electromagnetic pulse designed to disable enemy electronics, in which test aircraft lost entertainment and communications first, then navigation, then flight controls. But that had been a controlled military exercise. This is a civilian aircraft over the Atlantic with 287 people aboard. She runs through the possibilities. A massive electrical failure, unlikely given the 787's redundant systems. A lightning strike, ruled out by clear skies the whole crossing. Or a deliberate attack, an electromagnetic pulse or directed energy weapon meant to disable aircraft electronics without physical damage. She thinks of the submarine she detected 6 months ago, with capabilities that shouldn't exist, operating in almost exactly this region, tracking NATO aircraft. It's crazy. Submarines can't reach aircraft at 38,000 feet, and the atmosphere should scatter any directed pulse long before it reached cruising altitude, unless the technology is more advanced than she thought, unless whoever built that submarine has also found a way to project interference at ranges and altitudes previously believed impossible. She tells herself she's connecting dots that might not exist. But 12 years of instinct won't shut up. 5 minutes later the captain returns. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Williams again. We're continuing to experience communication difficulties. We've temporarily lost radio contact with air traffic control. Our navigation systems are also experiencing interference. We're flying on backup instruments and expect to resolve this shortly. There is no immediate danger. We have full control of the aircraft. Passengers are audibly frightened now, voices rising. What if they can't fix it? How do they know where we are without navigation? The man in 4B leans into the aisle. Miss, do you know what's happening? Jordan doesn't answer. She's already moving toward the cockpit. Catherine intercepts her. Ma'am, I need you to return to your seat. What's really happening? Jordan asks quietly. Total electrical failure. Navigation down. Communication blackout. Catherine's professional mask cracks. How did you? Because I'm a pilot. I know the difference between a minor technical issue and flying blind over the Atlantic. Catherine studies her. Really looks at her, past the expensive clothes and the business class seat. The captain didn't authorize me to. I'm not asking what the captain authorized. I'm asking what's really happening, because I might be able to help. Catherine glances toward the cockpit door, then says quietly, everything electronic is failing, not all at once but in sequence, entertainment first, then communications, then navigation. The pilots are flying manually on backup instruments, airspeed, altitude, attitude. But we're in the middle of the Atlantic. No landmarks, no GPS, no way to contact air traffic control or declare an emergency. What caused it? They don't know. Captain Williams said it's like something is jamming our systems, interfering with the signals. There it is. The word Jordan had been dreading. Jamming. Not failure. Not malfunction. Active interference. Someone, something, is deliberately attacking this aircraft's electronics. The civilian facade falls away. I need to talk to the pilots, Jordan says. I can't let you into the cockpit. FAA regulations. My name is Commander Jordan Hayes, United States Navy, call sign Shark. I flew P-8 Poseidons for 12 years, anti-submarine warfare and maritime patrol. I've navigated over every ocean on Earth without GPS or radio contact, and I think I know what's causing this. You think you know, Catherine says. Jordan leans closer. 6 months ago I detected an advanced submarine in this exact region, foreign technology that shouldn't exist. When I reported it, I was forced into early retirement. Now your aircraft is being jammed, electromagnetic interference from an external source, and we're flying over the same coordinates where I found that submarine. Catherine goes pale. You think a submarine is doing this? I don't think. I know. I've seen this signature before. A directed pulse designed to disable aircraft electronics without physical damage. When you land, if you land, the official report will call it an unexplained electrical failure. Nobody will investigate further, and nobody will know it was a weapons test. A weapons test. We have 287 people on this plane. That's exactly why they chose a civilian aircraft. Maximum data, minimal suspicion. Jam a military plane and it's instantly treated as an attack. Jam a civilian plane and it's just an unfortunate, explainable electrical failure. Catherine looks toward the cockpit, then back at Jordan, and makes her decision. Wait here. She goes to the cockpit door, picks up the intercom handset, speaks quietly, listens, hangs up, then opens the door a crack and waves Jordan through. The first thing Jordan notices inside is the silence. Not literal silence, the engines are still running and systems humming, but radio silence, the absence of the constant chatter that normally fills a cockpit. Air traffic updates, weather, position reports. Just dead air and static, the loneliest sound in aviation. Captain Williams, late 40s, silver-haired, 20 years of experience etched into his face, sits at the controls with steady hands and a tight jaw. Beside him, First Officer Chen, younger, maybe 35, is focused intently on the instruments. Both look mentally exhausted from flying manually and second-guessing every decision with no way to verify anything externally. Williams glances back. Who's this? She says she's a Navy pilot, Catherine says. She says she knows what's causing this. We don't have time for. Williams starts, but Jordan is already scanning the panel. Commander Jordan Hayes, call sign Shark. I flew P-8A Poseidons for 12 years out of NAS Jacksonville, maritime patrol and anti-submarine warfare, and I'm telling you right now, this isn't a system failure. You're being actively jammed by a submarine directly beneath your flight path. Williams's head snaps toward her. That's impossible. Submarines can't. Not conventional submarines, no. But I detected an advanced submarine in this exact region 6 months ago, technology that shouldn't exist, speeds and depths beyond any known capability. When I reported it to Naval Intelligence, I was forced into early retirement. Now your entire electrical system is under directed electromagnetic attack, and I'd bet it's the same vessel. Chen pulls out a paper chart, old school backup navigation. Even if that's true, why would a submarine attack a civilian aircraft? They're not attacking you, Jordan says, moving to the center console. They're testing their capabilities, seeing whether they can disable a commercial aircraft electronically without anyone understanding what happened. You're a data point, a proof of concept. When you land, if you land, the report will say unexplained electrical failure caused by atmospheric interference. Nobody investigates further. Nobody connects it to a weapon system, and next time it won't be a test. Williams and Chen exchange a look. Neither wants to believe it, but neither can explain what's happening through any conventional means either. How do we fight something we can't see? Williams asks. You don't fight it, Jordan says. You evade it. Electromagnetic interference has range limitations. Get outside that range and your systems come back online. But first you need to know where the source is, and I can tell you exactly where that is. How? Chen asks. Jordan points to the one instrument still functioning. Attitude, airspeed, altitude. Because I spent 12 years hunting submarines using nothing but dead reckoning, water temperature analysis, and pattern recognition. I can estimate your current position from time, airspeed, and your last known coordinates, calculate the probable jamming radius from the signal degradation pattern, and plot a course that takes you outside it while keeping you clear of other traffic corridors. You can do all that without GPS? Williams asks. Captain, I once navigated a damaged P-8 700 miles back to Andersen Air Force Base after a bird strike took out our primary navigation system, using paper charts, a compass, and altitude-compensated airspeed calculations. This is what I do. What I did. Williams weighs the risk of trusting a stranger against the risk of staying the course with failing systems. What's your plan? He finally asks. Jordan moves to the navigation station and pulls out the North Atlantic plotting chart. What was your last confirmed GPS position before systems started failing? Chen checks his notes. 5214 north, 3022 west, at 22:39 Coordinated Universal Time. Jordan runs the numbers instantly, from thousands of flight hours of practice. You've been on heading 075 true at Mach 0.85 for about 4 minutes since that position. That puts you roughly here. She marks the chart, 52:15 north, 29:48 west. She measures with a ruler. The jamming radius for this kind of technology is around 50 nautical miles, and you're currently inside it. To break free, turn 20 degrees north and hold that heading for exactly 12 minutes at your current speed. That will take you outside the field while staying within your assigned flight level block. Williams studies the chart, then her. And if you're wrong, if this is just an electrical failure and we go off course, then I'm just a crazy woman who thinks submarines can jam airplanes, Jordan says, and you're still lost over the Atlantic with failing systems. But if I'm right, if there's a submarine below you projecting directed electromagnetic interference, then your only chance is to get outside its range, because in about 8 more minutes your backup instruments start failing too. The jamming is progressive, designed to disable systems in sequence so it doesn't trigger automatic emergency alerts. Entertainment, then communications, then navigation, then flight instruments, then flight controls. That gets their attention. Flight controls, Chen breathes. Jordan nods. You'll lose hydraulic pressure, the fly-by-wire systems will degrade, and eventually you'll be flying a 230-ton glider. You have maybe 15 minutes before that happens. Probably less. Williams makes the call. 20 degrees north, 12 minutes. Chen, plot the course. The aircraft banks gently. Jordan feels the pressure change in her inner ear. Heading 095 true, Chen confirms. 12 minutes, starting now. Jordan watches the backup chronometer, counting seconds. Running the math. At Mach 0.85 they're covering about 8.5 nautical miles a minute. 12 minutes is 102 nautical miles. If her estimate of the submarine's position is right, if the jamming radius is what she thinks it is, they should cross the threshold at exactly 12 minutes and the systems should start recovering. Communications first, then navigation, then everything else. If she's wrong, nothing changes, and in a few minutes they start losing flight controls. Williams breaks the silence. Commander Hayes, how certain are you? 80%. I'm making educated guesses from incomplete data. But in my experience, when every conventional explanation fails, you look for the unconventional threat. In this region, at this time, with these symptoms, I'd bet my life there's a submarine below you. You are betting your life, Chen points out. And 286 others. I know. The cockpit falls silent except for the engines and the hum of backup systems. 9 minutes elapsed, 3 to go. Williams asks quietly, Commander, why did the Navy force you out, if you detected a submarine with these capabilities? That's intelligence gold, because someone didn't want it found, Jordan says. Someone with enough authority to bury my report and end my career. I'm still trying to figure out who, and why. You think someone in our own government is protecting this submarine. I think someone doesn't want the public to know a foreign power has deployed a submarine that can electronically disable any aircraft over the Atlantic. Because if that becomes public, it's not just a military problem, it's an economic catastrophe. Nobody flies. Nobody ships. The whole transatlantic corridor shuts down. Chen curses softly. 11 minutes elapsed, 1 to go. Jordan's heart pounds. Either her calculations are right and the systems recover, or she's wrong and they're about to lose flight controls 800 miles from land. She watches the panel. 30 seconds. 20. 10. Systems should start coming back now, she says. Nothing. The radio stays silent. The navigation displays stay dark. The entertainment screens remain black. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Williams looks at her. Then all at once the entertainment screens flicker back to life throughout the cabin. Jordan can hear the passengers exclaim behind the door. The navigation displays light up. GPS coordinates appear. The flight management computer reboots with a soft chime, and the radio erupts. British Airways 117, this is Gander Center. You have been out of contact for 18 minutes, respond immediately. BA 117, Shanwick Radio, we have you as Norda, please confirm. Multiple controllers talk over each other, desperate to reach the aircraft that went silent over the Atlantic. Chen reaches for the transmit button, but Jordan puts a hand on his arm. Wait, why? Williams asks. Because before you report what happened, you need to understand something. If you say you were jammed by a submarine, they'll investigate, and the same people who forced me into retirement will bury it. They'll blame atmospheric conditions or a system glitch, the submarine disappears, and next time it might not be a test. It might be an attack on an aircraft with no one aboard who knows how to evade it. What are you suggesting? Tell them you experienced a temporary electrical failure of unknown cause and that systems have recovered. File the required reports, but also let me make one phone call to people who will actually investigate, people who won't bury this. Naval Intelligence. Vice Admiral Rebecca Stanton, Director of Naval Intelligence. She's one of the few people who believed my original report. If I give her the exact coordinates where your systems failed and where they recovered, she can task assets to hunt it while the trail is fresh. Williams considers, looks at Chen, then back at Jordan. Make your call. But first, I'm reporting we're safe. He keys the radio. Gander Center, British Airways 117, we are safely back in contact. We experienced a temporary electrical failure affecting communication and navigation systems, which have now recovered. We're at flight level 410, position 5411 north, 2804 west. Request verify position and clearance to continue on flight plan. British Airways 117, Gander, Roger, we have you on radar, position confirmed, maintain flight level 410, cleared to continue on flight plan. Be advised you'll need to file an incident report. What was the nature of the electrical failure? Williams glances at Jordan. She nods slightly. Gander, cause unknown at this time. All systems experienced temporary degradation. We executed a turn to the north and systems recovered. We'll have maintenance evaluate on arrival at Heathrow. Roger, BA 117, we'll need a full report. Advise if you need any assistance. Negative, Gander, all systems normal now, BA 117. Williams hangs up the mic. Your turn. Make your call. Jordan pulls out her phone. They're still too far over water for cell service, but the aircraft Wi-Fi has recovered with everything else. She opens Signal and types to the one contact marked urgent, Stanton. Admiral, Jordan Hayes, I'm on BA 117, JFK to London. Aircraft was electronically jammed over the North Atlantic, same signature as the submarine I reported. It's real, it's operational, and it just attacked 287 civilians. We need to talk now. She attaches the coordinates where systems failed and recovered, pinpointing exactly where the submarine had been. 30 seconds later her phone rings, a secure voice call. She puts it on speaker so Williams and Chen can hear. Commander Hayes, you've been off the grid for 6 months, and you're calling from a commercial flight that just went north over the Atlantic with coordinates matching your reported contact. Talk to me. It wasn't a communications failure, Admiral. It was that submarine, the one I detected 6 months ago. It's real, it's operational, and it just demonstrated it can disable a civilian aircraft electronically. Complete jamming. Entertainment, communications, navigation, the works. We only recovered by flying outside its effective range. A pause, keyboard clicks in the background. You're certain it was active jamming? 100%. Progressive system degradation, sequential failure pattern, complete recovery once we cleared the zone. This wasn't mechanical failure or atmospheric interference. This was a directed electromagnetic attack. We've had every available asset searching that region for 6 months. Commander, P-8s, attack subs, arrays. Nothing. If this submarine exists, it's a ghost. You've been looking for a conventional submarine, Jordan says. This isn't conventional. And Admiral, it just revealed its position by jamming us. I know exactly where it was 18 hours ago. If you can get a P-8 airborne right now, I can guide them to the search area, but the window is closing. Stanton is silent for a long moment, weighing it. Commander, you resigned your commission. You're a civilian. I am. But I'm also the only person who's successfully detected this thing twice. Bring me back as a consultant. Contract basis, 1 mission, find this submarine and prove I wasn't wrong 6 months ago. Another pause. There's a P-8 at Keflavik, VP5 detachment, your old squadron. I can have them airborne in 2 hours with a full sensor suite. Can you get there? Jordan looks at Williams. Captain, what's our ETA to Heathrow? 2 hours, 53 minutes, Chen answers. I'll catch a military transport from RAF Northolt to Keflavik, Jordan tells Stanton. I'll be there before your crew finishes their mission briefing. Do it, Stanton says. But Commander Hayes, if we don't find this submarine, if this turns out to be sensor error or coincidence, your consulting career with the Navy is over before it starts. You'll be the officer who cried wolf twice, and no one will ever trust your judgment again. Admiral, I stopped worrying about my career the moment I realized that submarine could kill 287 civilians and no one would even investigate. My career is already over. Now I'm just trying to stop this thing before it goes from testing to attacking. Understood. I'll have a car waiting at Heathrow. Get to Keflavik. Find me that submarine. The line goes dead. Jordan looks at Williams and Chen, both staring at her somewhere between awe and disbelief. Commander Hayes, Williams says slowly, thank you. I don't know if I believe everything you've told us about submarines and conspiracies, but I know you saved this aircraft and everyone on it. Thank me when I find that submarine, Jordan says. Until then, file your incident report, accurate, but vague. Electrical failure, cause unknown, systems recovered. Don't mention submarines, jamming, or anything that sounds like a conspiracy theory. Just stick to the facts. What about you? Chen asks. Don't you need to get back to your seat before we land? Jordan smiles slightly. I'm not landing in London. I'm catching a military transport to Iceland to hunt a submarine that technically doesn't exist. But yes, for now I should probably go back to 4A and explain to the businessman why I've been gone half an hour. At the cockpit door she pauses. Captain Williams, one more thing. When maintenance inspects your aircraft, they'll find every system functioning normally, no physical damage, no explanation for why everything failed. That's intentional. That's the signature of a directed electromagnetic pulse. It disrupts without destroying. Remember that when they try to tell you it was just a glitch. Williams nods. Good hunting, Commander. Shark, Jordan corrects with a slight smile. Call sign Shark. She steps out. Catherine is waiting, eyes wide. Is it true? A submarine attacked us, tested its weapons on us, Jordan corrects. But yes, and now I'm going to find it. Back in seat 4A, the businessman in 4B looks up from his laptop. Everything okay? You were gone a while. Everything's fine, Jordan says, settling in. Just helping the crew with something. What kind of something? She picks up her thriller and finds her page. Navigation issue. I used to work in aviation. Huh, good thing you were here. Yeah, Jordan says quietly, looking out at the dark Atlantic. Good thing. The rest of the flight is uneventful. Systems stay online, and the aircraft lands at Heathrow at 9:17 Greenwich Mean Time, 8 minutes early on favorable winds. Jordan skips customs. A Navy officer in dress blues meets her at the gate with credentials that bypass security, and within 40 minutes she's at RAF Northolt boarding AC-130J bound for Keflavik. She's still in her expensive jeans and leather jacket, still looks like a civilian, but something has changed in her eyes, something that makes the loadmaster address her as, ma'am, instead of, miss, the moment he sees her. Shark is back, and she's hunting. 13 hours after the jamming incident, Jordan walks into the mission briefing room at Naval Air Station Keflavik wearing a borrowed flight suit that's slightly too large, the name tape reading Morrison and the patch reading VP5, her old squadron. It feels like stepping back into a life she thought she'd left behind. The P-8A crew is already there. Pilot, co-pilot, 2 tactical coordinators, a sensor operator, all young, all skeptical, and they go quiet when she enters. The pilot, Lieutenant Commander Steve Ramirez, call sign Razorback, speaks first. So you're the legendary Shark. The one who supposedly found a submarine nobody else could detect. I did detect it, Jordan says, moving to the chart table, and I'm about to prove it. The sensor operator, a woman in her mid-20s named Chen, leans against the wall with her arms crossed. We've flown this patrol area for 6 months with every sensor suite we have. Buoys, sonar, MAD, all of it. We've found Russian Akulas, Chinese songs, even a couple of Virginias doing workups. But your mystery submarine, nothing, not a single contact. Jordan understands the skepticism, she'd feel the same. Decades of anti-submarine doctrine say submarines can't simply disappear. They leave acoustic, magnetic, and thermal signatures, and you can't hide something that large in open ocean from modern sensors. Except this one can hide, she says, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Show me your search patterns. Ramirez pulls up the digital chart. Expanding square searches centered on Jordan's reported coordinates, barrier patrols across likely transit routes, even random sweeps. Nothing. Jordan studies it. Thorough, textbook anti-submarine work, and completely wrong for this target. You're searching for a conventional submarine, she says, one that runs at standard depths and speeds using standard tactics. This one doesn't. How do you know? Chen asks. You had one brief contact 6 months ago. I had 3 contacts, each one deeper and faster than the last. The final one showed it running at 35 knots at 800 meters, physically impossible for any known submarine. The pressure alone should crush the hull. The cavitation should light up every sonar array in the Atlantic. So what are you saying? Ramirez asks. Alien technology. I'm saying it's technology we don't understand yet. Advanced hull materials, a new propulsion system, something that lets it operate in regimes we thought were impossible. And if you keep searching where conventional submarines operate, you'll never find it. The second tactical coordinator, older, maybe 35, named Tape Williams, speaks up. Okay, Commander, you've got our attention. Where do we search? Jordan pulls the coordinates of the jamming incident and marks them on the chart. The submarine was here 18 hours ago. The effective jamming range was about 50 nautical miles, so it was positioned somewhere within this radius. She draws a circle. It jammed for about 18 minutes before we evaded, and you can't maintain effective jamming while maneuvering at speed, so it was stationary. Dead in the water? Williams asks. Not dead. Hovering, holding depth and position while it ran its test. That tells us it has exceptional depth control and station keeping, much better than a conventional boat. She traces a line on the chart. Once we evaded and our systems came back online, it would have known its test succeeded. It got its data. Now it needs to clear the area before someone comes looking. Where would it go? Deep water, Chen says, seeing where this is heading, away from shipping lanes and patrol areas. Exactly. And there's only one place in this region offering maximum depth with minimum traffic. Her finger moves to the western slope of the Reykjanes Ridge. Deep water, complex acoustics, enough terrain to mask a signature. Ramirez studies the chart. That's still a big area. We could search for days and find nothing. Not if we narrow it, Jordan says, working the numbers. It was here, at 22:45 Coordinated Universal Time yesterday. It's now 17:30 Coordinated Universal Time today, 18 hours 45 minutes later. At maximum silent running speed, call it 12 knots to avoid detection, it could have traveled 225 nautical miles. But it won't go the maximum distance, it'll go to the closest optimal hiding position. She marks a point. The western slope of the ridge, depth contour between 1,000 and 1,500 meters, complex bathymetry, low traffic outside normal patrol areas. If I were commanding that submarine, this is exactly where I'd go. The crew exchanges glances, weighing whether to trust the ex-commander who claims she can find an invisible submarine. Ramirez makes the call. All right, Commander, we'll fly your pattern. But if we find nothing in the first 2 hours, we're reverting to standard patrol areas. Fuel and flight time cost money. Deal, Jordan says. You'll find it in the first hour. Maybe less. 20 minutes later Jordan is back aboard AP-8 Poseidon, not as mission commander, not even as crew, but as a civilian consultant sitting at the spare tactical station, watching over Chen's shoulder as she runs the sensors. It feels like coming home. The P-8, built on the Boeing 737 airframe but converted for military use, has all business inside, sensor stations, sonobuoy launchers, communications gear, the smell of electronics, coffee, and military hardware. Jordan closes her eyes for a moment, remembering 12 years of exactly this, hundreds of missions, thousands of hours hunting things that hide in the dark. She never thought she'd miss it, but she does. Approaching search area, Ramirez announces. Descending to 1,000 feet for a mad run. The magnetic anomaly detector, old technology but still useful for final localization, can detect distortions in Earth's magnetic field caused by large metal objects like submarines. Start with a parallel search pattern along the depth contour, Jordan tells Chen. Deploy sonobuoys in a grid, 2-mile spacing. Chen looks to Ramirez, who nods, and the P-8 descends, running a precise pattern over the western slope of the ridge, dropping sonobuoys that transmit acoustic data back to the aircraft. Jordan watches the displays. Acoustic returns, temperature gradients, biological noise, whales, dolphins, fish, looking for what doesn't belong, the ghost in the machine. An hour passes with nothing but normal ocean sound. Coming up on the 2-hour mark, Commander Hayes, Ramirez says. We need to wrap this up soon. Give me 15 more minutes. Run one more leg along the 1,200-meter contour. Ramirez sighs but complies, banking the aircraft for another pass. Jordan stares at the sensor displays. Come on, where are you? I know you're here. And then, a faint magnetic anomaly, barely detectable, the kind most operators would dismiss as noise or a geological feature. But Jordan has spent 12 years learning the difference between noise and signal. Mad contact, she says quietly. Bearing 267, approximately 1,100 meters depth. Chen checks her displays. I don't see anything acoustic. Because it's not making noise. It's sitting on the bottom using terrain to mask itself. We're only getting mad because we're directly overhead. Deploy active sonar. Active will tell them we found them, Williams objects. They already know we're here, Jordan says. We've been running search patterns for 2 hours. What they don't know is that we found them. Active confirms it. Ramirez makes the call. Deploy active. Single ping. The powerful sonar pulse travels down, strikes the ocean floor, and returns, along with something else. The signature freezes everyone in the cockpit. Massive, wrongly shaped, matching nothing in any database. Holy Christ, Chen breathes. That's a submarine. Jordan stares at the display. The same impossible readings from 6 months ago. Depth, size, hull configuration, all wrong by every known standard. That's the submarine, she says. The one I reported. The one they said didn't exist. It's running, Williams announces. Bearing 240, increasing speed. The contact accelerates. 20 knots, 25, 30. Impossible, Ramirez mutters. Nothing accelerates that fast at that depth. This thing does, Jordan says, watching it with a predator's focus. It knows we found it. Now it's trying to lose us. Stay with it. Deploy a bar pattern. Chen launches a spread of sonobuoys designed to track fast-moving contacts, and for 15 minutes they follow it as it runs deep and fast, using the terrain to break contact. But Jordan anticipates every move, staying inside its decision cycle, telling Ramirez where it's going before it goes there. How are you doing this? Chen asks. How do you know where it's headed? Because I think like a submarine captain, Jordan says. If I were running from AP-8 in this terrain, I'd use that ridge to break contact, then turn east into deeper water. Watch. It's going to turn now. On the display, the submarine turns east, exactly as she predicted. Okay. That's just creepy, Chen mutters. They track it for another hour before Ramirez calls it. We're at bingo fuel. We have to RTB. Return to base. The words every operator dreads hearing during an active contact. We've got enough, Jordan says. Acoustic signature, magnetic profile, speed and depth capabilities. Admiral Stanton can use this to task attack subs to hunt it. We proved it's real. That's what matters. The P-8 turns for Keflavik, and Jordan watches the contact fade on the displays as they climb away, the submarine still running, still diving, disappearing back into the darkness it came from. But for the first time in 6 months, Jordan has proof. Real, verifiable, recorded proof that the submarine exists. Shark has found her prey again. 3 days later, in a classified briefing room at the Pentagon, Jordan stands in a borrowed Navy uniform. They wouldn't let her brief the Joint Chiefs in civilian clothes. It feels strange now, too tight in places, too loose in others, like wearing someone else's skin. Vice Admiral Stanton sits at the head of the table, flanked by 2 generals, 3 admirals, and a civilian from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, all watching Jordan with expressions ranging from skepticism to open hostility. Stanton begins. Gentlemen, 3 days ago Commander Hayes, currently serving as a civilian consultant, successfully located and tracked an unidentified submarine operating in the North Atlantic. This is the same submarine she reported 6 months ago, the same submarine we forced her to classify and forget about. A 2-star Army general named Morrison interrupts. Admiral, we've reviewed the data. What you're showing us is sensor artifacts and acoustic anomalies. There's no proof this is an actual submarine. Jordan speaks for the first time. General, I tracked that contact for 73 minutes. It maneuvered, it evaded, it demonstrated speeds and depths no known submarine can achieve. That's not artifacts. That's a real contact with capabilities we don't understand. Or it's a natural phenomenon you misinterpreted, Morrison says. The ocean produces plenty of false contacts, whales, thermal layers, geological features. I've flown anti-submarine missions for 12 years, Jordan says. I know the difference between a whale and a submarine, and between acoustic noise and a hull signature. Then explain how a submarine achieves 35 knots at 1,100 meters. Explain the physics. I can't, Jordan admits. But 6 months ago I couldn't explain how a submarine could electronically jam a civilian aircraft at 38,000 feet either. Yet it happened. British Airways Flight 117 lost all electrical systems for 18 minutes. 287 people were in danger, and when we evaded outside the jamming radius, the systems recovered. That's not coincidence. That's proof. A 3-star admiral, the submarine force commander, leans forward. Commander Hayes, I've read your file. Excellent record, stellar reviews, multiple commendations, which is exactly why I'm troubled that you're pursuing what looks like a technical glitch as evidence of a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy, Jordan says. It's a cover-up. 6 months ago I detected this submarine and reported it through proper channels. Instead of investigating, I was forced into early retirement. Someone buried my report. Someone with enough authority to end my career, and that same someone let this submarine operate freely for 6 months, developing and testing weapons against civilian aircraft. That's a serious accusation, the ODNI civilian says. You're suggesting someone in the defense establishment deliberately allowed a foreign submarine to operate in NATO waters. I'm suggesting someone prioritized secrecy over safety, Jordan says. I don't know exactly who or why. I know that when I reported this submarine I was silenced, and 3 days ago, when I found it again, suddenly everyone wants to listen. Why? What changed? Stanton answers. What changed is that you found it with witnesses, a P-8 crew that recorded everything, data that can't be dismissed, classified, or buried. Commander Hayes forced this into the light. Morrison stands. This is a waste of time. We're treating sensor artifacts as a national security threat on the word of one former officer with a pattern of seeing submarines that aren't there. Sit down, General, Stanton says quietly. He glares at her. She doesn't move. Sit down. He sits. Stanton opens a folder. For the past 72 hours I've been conducting my own investigation into why Commander Hayes was forced into retirement and who buried her report, and I found something interesting. She slides documents across the table. Commander Hayes's report reached my office 6 months ago through standard classified traffic. I personally reviewed it and ordered a full investigation. Before that investigation could begin, I received orders from the Office of the Secretary of Defense to cease all inquiries and classify the matter under special access controls. Who signed the order? The Submarine Force Admiral asks. Deputy Secretary of Defense Richard Callaway, Stanton says, a political appointee with no intelligence background and no apparent reason to be involved in submarine detection matters. I found that odd, so I dug deeper. More documents. Callaway has financial ties to a defense contractor called TerraShield Systems, which specializes in electronic warfare and counter-submarine technology. 3 months before Commander Hayes detected this submarine, TerraShield received a contract worth $2.3 billion to develop next-generation anti-submarine warfare technology. The room goes silent. You're saying Callaway buried the report to protect a contract? The ODNI civilian asks. I'm saying Callaway likely knew about this submarine before Hayes detected it, Stanton says, and wanted it kept secret because disclosure would raise questions about how a foreign power developed technology we're paying billions to defend against. And I'm saying that when Hayes found it again, Callaway chose to protect his contractor's profit margin. Over 287 civilians on a transatlantic flight. Morrison has gone pale. Admiral, those are explosive allegations. They're facts, Stanton says. I've forwarded all of it to the Inspector General and the Senate Intelligence Committee. Deputy Secretary Callaway is currently suspended pending investigation, and court-martial proceedings begin next week for anyone in the chain of command who knew about the cover-up. Jordan stares at her. She'd known Stanton believed her, but not that she would go this far. Commander Hayes, Stanton says, the Navy owes you an apology. You were right, we were wrong, and we're prepared to make this right. I'm authorized to offer you reinstatement at your former rank with full back pay, and I'm creating a new anti-submarine warfare unit dedicated to tracking threats like this one. I want you to lead it. Jordan lets it sink in. Reinstatement, command of a new unit, everything she lost handed back. She should feel vindicated, triumphant, proven right. Instead she just feels tired. Admiral, she says slowly, I appreciate the offer, I really do. But I need to ask you something. If I hadn't been on that flight, if I hadn't been in exactly the right place at exactly the right time, would you be offering me this? Or would that submarine still be operating freely while Callaway and his friends at Terra Shield collected their billions? Stanton meets her eyes. Honestly, I don't know. I'd like to think I'd have kept pushing, but you're right that without concrete proof, without witnesses and recorded data, this would have stayed classified and buried. Jordan nods. That's what I thought. So what are you saying? Stanton asks, that you're declining the offer. I'm saying I'll consult, Jordan says. I'll help you find this submarine, I'll help you sink it, I'll give you whatever expertise you need. But I won't rejoin the Navy, because the Navy I served silenced me instead of listening, and the only reason you're listening now is because I forced you to. The room is silent. No one argues, because everyone at the table knows she's right. I understand, Stanton says quietly. The offer stands if you change your mind. I won't, Jordan says. But Admiral, there is something I want. Name it. Access to all intelligence on this submarine, to all future detection data, to any operations planned against it. I won't wear the uniform again, but I'm the only person who's tracked this thing successfully twice. You need my expertise, and I need to see this through. I need to know that what happened to me doesn't happen to the next officer who finds something inconvenient. Stanton glances around the table. No one objects. Done. Full access. Consultant status with special clearance. You'll be read into every operation. And when we find it, Jordan asks, when we have a targeting solution. We'll destroy it, the submarine force admiral says. This thing has demonstrated hostile capability. It's a clear and present threat to civilian and military aircraft. We'll track it, corner it, and put a torpedo into it. Jordan nods. Good. Because 287 people almost died because someone cared more about money than lives. That can't happen again. She stands. The meeting is over. As she turns to leave, Morrison calls out, Commander Hayes, for what it's worth, you were right, and I apologize for doubting you. Jordan pauses at the door and looks back at him. General, I don't need your apology. I need you to listen the next time someone reports something impossible, because in my experience, impossible just means we haven't figured it out yet. She walks out. 6 months later, in her Manhattan apartment, a classified brief arrives by secure courier. Jordan signs for it, waits for the courier to leave, and opens the sealed envelope. Top secret, special access, no foreign nationals. Subject: neutralization of unknown submarine, designated Ghost. Summary: following 6 months of coordinated tracking by U.S. and NATO submarine forces, the contact-designated Ghost was successfully localized in the Erminger Basin south of Iceland. USS Seawolf achieved a firing solution at 3:47 Coordinated Universal Time and engaged with 2 Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes. Both weapons impacted the target, sonar confirmed hull breach and catastrophic flooding, and no survivors were recovered. Debris analysis indicates advanced composite hull construction and a propulsion system of unknown origin, consistent with the specifications reported by Commander J. Hayes. Full technical assessment ongoing. Threat status: neutralized. Recommendation: continued vigilance for similar capabilities among adversary submarine forces, and enhanced sensor development to detect advanced stealth technologies. Jordan reads it twice, then closes the folder. Ghost is dead. The submarine that forced her into retirement, that jammed a civilian aircraft, that demonstrated capabilities no one thought possible, destroyed. She should feel satisfaction, closure, victory. Instead she just feels empty. She pours herself a glass of expensive bourbon, the kind she can afford now on her consulting fees, and walks to the window of her Chelsea apartment, looking out at the city lights and the distant darkness of the harbor. Somewhere out there the ocean continues, indifferent to human concerns, hiding its secrets and revealing them only when it chooses, to those who know how to listen. Her phone rings. Stanton. Commander Hayes. I assume you received the brief. Just finished reading it. Ghost is dead. Congratulations. Congratulations to you, Jordan says. You found it twice, Stanton says. You proved it existed. You forced us to act. This is your victory. Doesn't feel like victory, Jordan says. Feels like we killed something we didn't understand. We never found out who built it, where it came from, or why it was testing electronic warfare on civilian aircraft. The debris analysis might tell us more, Stanton says. We're working with DARPA to reverse engineer the propulsion system. Early results suggest technology at least a decade ahead of anything in our inventory. Which means whoever built it has more, Jordan says. Ghost wasn't a prototype. It was operational. There are others. Stanton is silent for a moment. That's the concern, and that's why you're calling. The Navy is creating a permanent task force, an advanced submarine threat assessment group dedicated to detecting and tracking next-generation submarine capabilities. I want you to lead it. I already told you. Civilian consultant, Stanton interrupts. Not military. You don't wear the uniform. You don't follow the chain of command. You report directly to me. Full autonomy, unlimited budget, access to every sensor and asset we have. You hunt submarines your way, without interference. Jordan looks out at the harbor, thinking. And if I find something you don't want to hear, something politically inconvenient, someone tells you to bury it, then I'll back you, Stanton says. What happened with Calloway can't happen again. I won't let it. Calloway's court-martial. How did that turn out? Guilty on all counts. 20 years at Leavenworth. Terra Shield lost their contract, and several of their executives are under investigation. We're cleaning house, Commander. The people who buried your report are gone. The ones who remain know what happened when we ignored you. Jordan sips her bourbon, considering. She could say no, stay in her comfortable civilian life, consulting fees, the expensive apartment, no responsibility beyond the next PowerPoint presentation. But Ghost proved that the ocean still hides threats, and that someone needs to find them before they kill people. I'll do it, Jordan says, but on my terms. I don't attend Pentagon meetings, I don't brief generals, I hunt submarines, period. You want my expertise, you let me work. Agreed, Stanton says immediately. I'll have contracts drawn up. Welcome back, Shark. The line goes dead, and Jordan stands at the window with her drink, looking at the darkness beyond the city lights. Shark is back. Not in uniform, not in the Navy, but hunting again, because call signs don't retire. They just wait, patient and silent, until the ocean needs them again. 2 years later, aboard AP-8 Poseidon over the Arctic Ocean, Jordan sits at the sensor operator's station watching acoustic returns from the ice edge. The crew, all younger than her now, work with quiet respect. They've heard the stories about the woman who found the submarine no one else could detect, who proved it existed when everyone said she was crazy, who turned down promotion and command to hunt on her own terms. They call her Shark even though she wears no rank or insignia. The call sign followed her out of the Navy and into her new life. Contact, a different sensor operator, also named Shen, younger, maybe 24, announces. Bearing 014, depth 450 meters, speed 12 knots. Jordan studies the signature. A Russian Yasen class, advanced but conventional, not the threat they're hunting. Mark it and continue pattern, she says calmly, and the P-8 continues its patrol. This is Jordan's life now. No parades, no medals, no promotions, just the work. Hunting submarines that hide in the darkness, finding threats before they become attacks. Some people might call it lonely, might say she gave up her career for nothing. But Jordan knows better. She's exactly where she belongs, doing exactly what she was born to do. 6 months ago she detected another anomaly, another impossible signature, And she's been tracking it ever since, quietly, methodically, building the case. Soon she'll have enough data to brief Stanton, and then they'll hunt again, because the ocean is full of secrets, and Shark is the one who finds them. The man in seat 4A couldn't do this. The woman in expensive jeans and a leather jacket couldn't do this. The commander forced into retirement couldn't do this. But Shark can. Call signs don't retire. They evolve, they adapt, they find new ways to hunt. And beneath every civilian flight path, beneath every shipping lane, beneath every assumption about what's possible and what isn't, the ocean waits, silent and patient, hiding its secrets until someone who knows how to listen comes looking. And Shark is always listening.